Well, very good evening, everybody, and welcome on this wonderful Tuesday night to round 7 of season 8 of the Gard Saint-Gobain Supercar Championship here at Alliance Sim Racing. It is very, very wet at the moment here in Fuji. Over in Japan, we have found the rains in this part of the world at the moment, and going to certainly put our drivers to the test this evening across the course of 2 races that we have laid ahead of you. My name, of course, is Isaac Fogarty. It's a pleasure to have your company this evening, and I have in the booth with me this evening Josh Harris, Jared Cole, not able to be here this evening. We hope to see Jared back in the booth very soon. Hope he's feeling better as well. But Josh, great to have you back in the booth. We last shared the booth towards the back end of last season, and that was some pretty spicy racing. And rain at Fuji, it's certainly going to provide a challenge tonight, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It is. Thank you very much, Isaac. And hello to everybody. It's been a while since I've been here. I'm excited to be back. I haven't had a chance to catch up with much of the racing this season, so excited to see how things go. Fuji would have to be one of the toughest circuits in the world, I reckon, particularly that last sector. Throw in some rain, it's going to be a tough old night for these guys, Isaac.
Yeah, it absolutely will be. They're in qualifying at the moment, 2 lone laps as per usual, and can confirm it is very wet out there for qualifying, so certainly going to put our drivers to the test across the course of that very limited qualifying session that they do get. But then a 10-lap race where I'm told it will be substantially wet, and the wet tyres will probably be the way to go. I highly doubt we'll see anyone on a dry set. But race 2, 25 laps with a 2 compulsory pit stop. However, Josh, there is rumours that it will dry up across the course of race 2, which could provide the opportunity for drivers to change the strategy up and go from the wet to dry. And that's the tricky part in these cars, isn't it? Switching from that wet to dry tyre and nailing that crossover point.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I haven't done enough testing to know exactly, but these guys are typically pretty good at this sort of thing, and, you know, knowing how to extract it. It's going to be an interesting race too. If we do get that wet to dry, that makes things really exciting. We start to see all that strategy open up, and that's where we get to see some, you know, genuinely exciting racing.
Yeah, certainly is going to be a very, very exciting evening of racing here, I have no doubt, in Fuji. Let's have a look at what our championship points look like heading into this round. It is Troy Stonestreet that moves to the top of the standings for the first time since, I believe, all the way back in round 1. So pointy end of this season, 3 rounds to go after tonight, and that means that it is getting to the pointy end of the season. Troy Stonestreet, Connor Nixon and Luke Allman, your top 3. Not a lot separating them. About 66 points, if my maths is correct there, separating those guys. But then it is a fair gap back to Stephen Varga, Mark Poynton, who are fairly close on points as well. Only 3 points between the two of them. Another little bit of a gap back to Ray Smith in 6th. Damon Fisher in 7th place. And then James Hardy leading the way for the Trophy Cup class in P8. So inside the top 10 in the championship. And he is 37 points clear of Brett Horsell and 39 points clear of Abel Verban in 11th. But that championship, Josh, it's certainly getting pretty close, especially for the overall championship, but also even for that Trophy Cup championship. It's going to be wonderful to see. You know, we were talking earlier before the broadcast got started. Look, we absolutely love Wayne Walker, but he was sort of running away with it towards the back end of the season in the last couple of seasons gone by. So it's nice to see as we get to the back end of this season a nice close championship battle.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always really nice to see, you know, tight championship battles. It's good to hear that, you know, whilst it's disappointing to see Wayne depart, it's pretty exciting to see lots of, you know, close racing and a hard-fought championship.
Yeah, it certainly is, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens tonight. I believe there's no Connor Nixon out there this evening, so a chance for Troy Stonestreet to maybe grow that gap, and for Luke Allman to potentially get himself in the mix and move up into 2nd in the championship standings. Now, I believe we do have a lap of the track provided by Simon Haynes. And Josh, I'm going to hand over to you as our resident supercars expert to talk us through a lap of the Fuji circuit here, albeit in the dry.
Yeah, it's the very first thing that you can see is that it is in the dry, and Fuji really is defined by this huge front straight. Makes up such a big percentage of the track. A huge braking stop or braking zone into turn one. It's a definite passing opportunity, and in the wet, incredibly tricky to make sure that you modulate those brakes as you need to. Down the chute here towards turn three, it's quick. Now, I doubt you'll see many people climbing that inside curve or the outside at turn three, and then turn four, really long right-hander, and this is the trademark of Fuji. It is an absolute killer on tyres with these long corners. Another big stop and another good passing opportunity. If you get a run through 4 into 5 here, it's a faster exit than you might expect with the opening radius. Really fast couple of corners here as we run down towards the final sector. Another big stop at the Dunlop board. Another passing opportunity. No chicane, as you'll see there tonight. Some people who are used to Fuji might be a little bit surprised. And then this series, this incredibly famous last couple of corners, they are all tightening radius. They just feel like they're going on forever, and they tighten and tighten and tighten. Look in the rain tonight for people to utilise the outside line, that go-kart line. I just did a couple of laps in the wet, and what I can tell you is that water's really pooling on the inside edge of all of those corners. Now we're back on this final straight. It's incredibly long. It's one of the most famous tracks in the world. It's also one of the most difficult. I'm keen to see how things go tonight, but I think that we're going to see a huge amount of tyre wear, and in the rain, some really interesting racing lines coming about. That is a lap of Fuji brought to you by Gard St. Cobain. Isaac, what do you reckon?
I think this is going to be an interesting evening, that's for sure. You look how difficult that car is. There's so much turning time at this circuit, so much load these cars are put under, and you add a wet condition into that. It's going to be tricky. I think the hardest part, the part I'm most looking forward to, is if it does dry up throughout race 2, you're really going to have what we sort of call the tram tracks, that one line where you can be. And if you stray from that in one of those fast corners, you are going to find yourself in a world of hurt. So what happens tonight, we'll lay ahead. We will find out. We have just a few seconds remaining in qualifying, so we're not actually too far away from bringing those qualifying results to you, as a couple of drivers, I believe, have actually missed the cut. So there may not be some time set from some big names in this session as it ticks over the 10 minutes and we wait for those results to come our way in just a second. I'm being told that we do have that now ready to show you. So our grid for race number 1, this is how they will line up, and it is Mark Poynton that gets the pole position over Troy Stonestreet. Just a tenth of a second between the two of them. Luke Allman and Stephen Varga will share row number 2. Then it's Jason Bentz and James Hardy on row number 3. Jamie McKnight and Abel Verban, and then Dave Tadell and Daniel Yeaman. So that's 3 Cup Trophy drivers inside the top 10. What a result for the Cup Trophy drivers in this qualifying session. Then it's Andrew Hoffman and Brad Hayes just missing out on that top 10. Andrew Lisner, Bray Horsell, row number 7. Ash Hall, Rick Vigar on row number 8. Then Chad Vigar, Troy Sipple, Ernie Toth and Craig Rose rounding out your top 10. Looking a little further afield, we have Brian Borg missing out in that qualifying session. One of the big names to not set a time this evening, unfortunately. And Ray Smith also not setting a time, neither did Shane Patterson and Scotty Perrins. Tim Nicol back in race control this evening. Great to see him back behind the wheel of the Chubby Buns safety car. Todd Martin and Lucas Burt also joining us in race control this evening. But Josh, what a qualifying session, and Mark Poynton scoring himself pole position in these tricky conditions.
Yeah, it's not all that surprising. Mark's incredibly fast in all conditions. I'm excited to see how he goes tonight. And I'm excited to see how this race 1 goes. As you can see, plenty of rain on the circuit as our drivers line up. You'll see over there on the left-hand side of the track, lots of puddles up against the walls, and you'll see as we make our way around the track tonight, folks, there is lots of puddles on the inside of the corners. Just wait for this first lap. I think there's going to be a little bit of chaos, lots of opportunity to hot lap recently and qualify. It's going to be a bit different with lots of cars around and people in parts of the track they don't want to be. I wouldn't be surprised to see a couple of small incidents out there.
No, and everyone will be hopefully taking a little bit cautious on this lap. We have every single car gridded up, so we're just waiting for starters' orders to get this one underway. As you can see, every single car out there on a wet set of tyres, so do not be surprised. Oh, well, I'm not surprised about the fact that that is the case with the amount of standing water that's out there. You can see, as Josh pointed out on the left-hand side, just how much water is there. We are not too far away from this one getting started. We are just waiting for the last of the cars to grid up, I believe. Everyone is pretty much good to go. We're just waiting for that time to tick over so we get the starters' orders. Great to see everybody out there tuning in and having your company this evening. Let us know in the chat where you're watching from, how you're feeling, who you're rooting for in this one. I'm sure there's quite a number of drivers out there that have plenty of support this evening. And looking towards the front of the grid. Lights come on now. So here we go. We are under starters' orders. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lights. The roar of supercars comes to life at Fuji, and we are away for race number 1. And it is a great start at the front of the field for Troy Stonestreet, who jumps to the front. And there is Mark Poynton and Luke Orman as well. So up the inside, Stonestreet. Around the outside, though, goes Luke Orman off the start. They're still going to be side by side as they come out of the hairpin for the first time. Catches a little bit of the curb there, Stonestreet. Thought he was going to get spat into Orman, but he concedes position, goes defensive into the left-hander. Look at the amount of standing water on the inside of that corner. There is so much water out there at the moment. This is going to be a very treacherous lap for our drivers, but it's Orman from Stonestreet, from Poynton, from Jason Betts up into position number 4. James Hardy, P5, then Stephen Varga, Yeaman and Diddell. So it is a great start for Luke Orman. Gets himself up, and there goes Poynton up the inside of Betts, defensive and loose. That's how squirrely they are at the moment. Look at the car control from Mark Poynton. He's got the car on the side. It is treacherous out there at the moment.
It is, and you can see the amount of spray. These guys are going to be fighting fighting a battle with visibility. You heard me just pause for a moment there. That was a big move by, I believe it was Bentz. He managed to get away without a huge amount of damage. One thing I'll say, whilst this first lap isn't finished, and that looked like... I believe that's Poynton, who just had a big moment. Yeah. What I was going to say is reasonably cool, calm and collected lap. A lot of good quality car control on display, and we are now up onto the main straight. And one thing about a straight this long, lots and lots of speed, and that means lots and lots of spray. I don't know that I would like to be tucked in behind the rear wing of another car trying to find my brake mark at the moment, Isaac.
No, I certainly would not like to be the one trying to find out where I'm braking, especially because that's probably going to change if the circuit continues to get wet. Look at them run down the front straight here, up the inside. Who's that? That's Hardy and Varga battling away. There's a couple more cars going side by side here. It's turn one off the road. Goes James Hardy, loses that spot to Varga in the end, and right in behind is Zabel Verban. So this is actually 3 in a row here. Hardy, Verban and Diddell all battling for that Cup Trophy class lead. The Trophy Cup class. They are a line astern right now in 7th, 8th and 9th. Jamie McKnight in behind them, Horsell, Hayes as well. Let's have a look how these guys have moved off the start. Any big movers and shakers out there, and down 4 spots is Mark Poynton, down 2 spots is Stephen Varga, up 6 spots though. Daniel Gaiman off the start, he's qualified P10, so he has had a massive gain out there at the start. Perrins and Patterson also up 6 spots. Brian Borg, Ray Smith not having the start they wanted, so we'll see if we can get a replay of that at some point as well. But it is fairly competitive out there, and this man, Daniel Gaiman, he is on a charge through the field, putting pressure on the back of Jason Betts now for the last spot on the podium. And around goes Betts. He got loose in the corner all on his own, got it sideways in the wet, and now through goes Poynton and Yeaman. Betts is actually going to be battling with his teammate behind. There he is, and he's actually still in front of Varga, but Varga looked to capitalise there for a second, and we've seen a couple of drivers do that now. Poynton did that on the previous lap, as did Varga. It's looking like a very easy spot, Josh, to get caught out in these conditions.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that some of the drivers are just going to be caught out by trying to get back into their usual racing line. Lots and lots of water on the inside in that last sector. So very, very easy. As we see here on the Chubby Buns replay, we jump back to have a look at Brian Borg, and we see what happens here. Simply outbraked himself into turn one.
Off the track.
Yeah, absolutely. And Brian Borg, that's not a name that I usually associate with being all the way down the back. So something going on tonight, maybe not the sort of conditions that he finds particularly favourable. But we do now have another look at a Chubby Buns replay. Brian Borg.
There we go.
Not sure who that is.
It's Ray Smith. So this is what I was looking for earlier. These two drop right down the order. And unfortunately, Ray Smith and Brian Borg getting caught up there together, which resulted in them dropping down the field. And then Brian Borg got that one earlier that said he crashed, but that was him, obviously, as you said, running too deep under brakes and going off the circuit. So that was the contact between the two of them that led to them both falling down to the back of the pack. And they have some work to do in this one to move forward. Daniel Yeaman with a slow down penalty.
He was just a long way off track, Isaac. I'm not sure exactly how he got out there, but he was out in the boondocks. As we do now see Jamie McKnight. Looks like he got a pass done on Tadell there.
He did, yes.
And continues to move forward. Jamie McKnight not having too bad of a race. He is still down two. He didn't get the start that he wanted, but he'll find his way back, no doubt. Those Fishy guys are known for their tenacity and making sure that they continue to move forward. We are back up on the front straight to start the fourth lap of the evening. Now, that rain doesn't look like it's going anywhere just yet, Isaac. I think that we're going to see a pretty consistently wet race one.
Yeah, I don't think the conditions will change much. I believe Jared Cole gave us some inside information earlier on, and it's my understanding that it will stay pretty wet for race number one. It's race two later on that could dry up, so keep an eye out for that. But yeah, race one, the conditions will pretty much be see it as it is. It's the rain that's going to disappear between these sessions for the second race later on. Remember, we also have the reverse top five. I don't know if we touched on that at the top of the broadcast, but reverse top five for race two. So as it stands at the moment, Jason Betts will find himself on pole position. So that P5 spot is going to be pretty coveted if you're someone like Stephen Varga or even James Hardy. If you can get a spot or two before this race is over, you can find yourself in a pretty handy position at the front of this field in drying conditions.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to make the most of this race. There's not a huge amount of strategy in this one, Isaac. It's just about, getting to the end of 10 laps and setting yourself up for that longer race tonight. So the best method here is to keep yourself on track, not do anything particularly courageous. You don't want to certainly go for a move for one more position and end up off the track. But so far, we're approaching halfway pretty quickly, and so far everyone's doing a nice job. We do here see Hoffman and Hall pretty close together, so they are having a little bit of a battle in through the corners. As we see here, Hall up the inside of Hoffman, and now he's got the inside run for this big long run down the front straight. If I was these guys, I'd be playing a little bit of games and running some side draft off each other, but it does look like Hoffman got the far better run out of the last corner and has pulled himself a full car length lead before he does get to the braking zone. As we do see them all now plunge into turn
Who's
one. That was Ashley Hall.
Ernie Toth? It's Ernie Toth. Someone, I'm trying to work out who that was in the background. Someone's almost run up the back. I think that's actually Rick Vigar's almost run up the back of a number of cars there into turn one when he got it on the slide under braking and just was not able to get the car to pull up. I thought he was unfortunately going to collect his teammate there for a second, but he managed to get away with it and get the car pulled up just enough and steer out of it that he didn't collect anyone in front of him. So very scary moment for Rick, almost taking out Chad. That could have been a bit messy in the Angry Birds camp if there was a bit of team-on-team violence, but they seem to have gotten away with it for now, and we'll continue on. Brian Borg working his way back through the field, and Mark Poynton staying within a second, just over half a second away from Daniel Yeaman at the front of the field. I just noticed as well, Brian Borg and Ray Smith working their way through this field. Also, while battling each other, Ray Smith is actually right in behind Ernie Toth in front as they come down to section where normally we'd have the chicane. Very wide there from Craig Rose. Craig Rose took the alternative line through the bottom of the circuit and went very, very wide. I think they're still used to the NASCAR track limits from last week at Coda.
I do apologise, Isaac. I saw a butterfly just for a moment there, and I was distracted looking at some stuff on my own iRacing. I will trust what you were saying about Coda.
Happens.
Yes, no.
I was making note that Craig Rose was utilising the NASCAR track limits we used at Coda last week, and that line that he took through the bottom of the sea went very wide, and it was not looked upon favourably.
Probably forgot that he had migrated from the US across into Asia. But alas, we do enjoy those NASCAR track limits when we get the opportunity to play around with it.
Yes, absolutely. Nothing I love more than watching 24 drivers all blow up one corner simultaneously because the track limits say it's absolutely fine. Here's Ernie Toth and Ray Smith side by side. They're going to go side by side through a very, very wet part of the circuit. There was water on the road here. It's still sitting there. You can see it on the inside. And Brian Borg trying to buy into this as well with a very, very long left-hander. There's a little bit of contact.
Oh, no.
Ernie Toth's going to go around, and they're going to all get caught up in this side-to-side contact. Ray Smith turned around Ernie Toth, and then as a result ran wide off the contact into the side of Brian Borg. So Smith and Toth both facing the wrong way. Brian Borg pushed off the road, will continue on. That was very, very messy, and we'll try and get a replay of that. Here we go. This is Craig Rose, contact with Ray Smith, so this is afterwards, and then more contact for Ernie Toth. We'll get the replay of the incident up. Here we go. And it's after it already happened, it seems. So I think there's a lot that's happened in a small period of time. Here we go. Yeah, a little front touch up from Ray Smith, and then bang, all three of them got into each other, and then there's more contact. Here comes Craig Rose, nowhere to go, and then Ernie Toth, who's got the car spinning around, ready to go back on the circuit and resume racing, gets caught up in a second incident. So that is very, very unfortunate. But again, we're racing in wet conditions, and drivers trying to go drive underneath each other there like Ray Smith was. It's super hard to do in wet conditions.
Yeah, and that's a sort of rub between two cars. I think the dry probably wouldn't have mattered, but unfortunately in the wet, it's just immediately, caused.
It is
very,
happening.
Very close.
It's all going on out there, isn't it, Josh? That was very close.
I think that both of those fellas can count their lucky stars that they are still pointing forward. The point that I was just making before was, in the wet, these things happen. The small touches, unfortunately, end up with cars pointed the other way. But we do, we do see these guys putting on such an incredible display. A couple of small incidents, but these cars are incredibly hard to drive in the dry, let alone driving in the wet, and especially on a track like this.
Yeah, they're very difficult cars to drive. I certainly struggle to keep these cars pointing in a straight line at the best of times when the surface is bone dry and I'm on the grippiest tyres I can get myself on. So I can't imagine what it's like in wet conditions. We've got Craig Rose and Ray Smith both in the pits with, I'd argue, probably substantial damage to those cars after multiple hits to both of them. This is Mark Poynton trying to size up a move once again on Daniel Yamin. The rate in which he's closed back up after that initial contact about half a lap ago indicates that he has more pace out there than Yamin does right now, but Yamin has the track position, so he has the advantage of being able to defend and place the car, which is, again, harder to do in the wet, but he's doing a wonderful job. And Mark Poynton really needs to be proactive here. The last thing he wants to do is go for a move, lock a brake, and make contact with Yamin in front. So he really has to, you're doing a lot. You're already thinking about so much in these supercars, but you add a bit of water into the mix and it amplifies it by a million. The amount of thinking and focus you have to do behind the wheel of one of these cars. So Mark Poynton harassing the back of Daniel Yamin at the moment. Really look for a move into the heavy braking zone down the bottom here. I very much think he could if he's close enough. I don't know if he will be, though, on this occasion, and he's not. He did have it show those. Oh, big moment for Yeaman on the wall. Look at the amount of standing order down the bottom there, and up the inside goes Mark Point. The invitation was given with the moment that Yeaman had in the previous corner. They're still side by side, though. They will remain side by side for the remainder of this section, but it is sorted out in favour of Daniel Yeaman, so he holds on for now. But this battle between the two of them for the last spot on the podium, Yeaman, Poynton, we have 2 laps to go. Time has absolutely flown, by the way, in this race. An incident between car 13 and 27, no further action, and towing was permitted. So that is cars 13 and 27. That's Ray Smith and Craig Rose. I would believe that Ray Smith possibly towed back to the pits after that one. Craig Rose back out on circuit. But yeah, looking at this battle, we have 2 laps to go, and Mark Poynton seems very determined to get this position done.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mark Poynton's been the faster car, but a couple of mistakes. Firstly, we won a couple of laps ago trying to get the pass done. And then Yeaman just had a very big moment on that last lap, but Poynton did as well, Isaac. And I don't know whether we've got any hope of loading up a replay from in the cabin of Mark Poynton's car, but I think that there was a whole heap of pretty impressive wheel work going on. Mark Poynton definitely the faster car here, but being able to extract yourself from out behind the car in front and actually make the pass stick, that's a very different kettle of fish, and it's something that Mark Poynton is really struggling with at the moment. Yeaman doing a fantastic job of holding his position and making sure that he puts Mark Poynton in places that he doesn't necessarily want to be, and therefore he can't get the braking traction and the drive traction. Although, as I say that, Yeaman does outbrake himself into that fast right-hander down the back of the circuit and unfortunately relinquishes that final podium position to Mark Poynton.
Yeah, and that's what we saw him do on the previous lap, which was where Poynton was able to initially capitalise. We had that beautiful side-by-side action between the two of them, and now Poynton gets that move done. So Luke Orman, in the lead of this race, about to start the final lap of the race. He has disappeared into the distance, absolutely thriving in these conditions, folks. He is like a duck to water, really. He has disappeared up the road, and we'll get on board with Luke Orman. There is the man. He's got his driver cam once again this week. You can see into the rig, and he's got his hat back on. We took the hat off one week. We thought it might have been better, but unfortunately he didn't perform as well without the hat. So he's got the hat back. He had the hat back last week as well at Coda. Had a great week at Coda and looks to be off to a flyer of a start here at Fuji in the wet. So he is having a wonderful time out there at the moment. And look, Troy Stone Street as well, performing beautifully in this race. Mark Poynton starting to pull away from Daniel Yeaman. There's still a couple battles to be resolved down the order. Troy Sipple and Andrew Listener look to be fairly close to Brian Borg in front. They would have just been passed by Brian Borg, actually. And here we go into the hairpin. Brian Borg going defensive, sticking on the high line. Troy Sipple thought about a move, almost contact there between the two of them. And Sips actually is going to run wide now and almost lose a spot here potentially to Andrew Listener, and Andrew Listener going to go the long way around in the outside in the fast left-hander and absolutely gets that done. So that is a positional change, and Andrew Listener up to 18th place on the road. What an overtake there was for Andrew Listener. A slowdown for Daniel Yeaman. You have to think that may be the end of his charge for that podium spot back. And actually, Mark Poynton, as we say, they've actually closed right up to Troy Stone Street, which just shows the pace that he does have. But this man, Luke Orman, he had a wonderful start, got the lead into turn one, and has not relinquished it since. It is victory in race number one for Luke Orman, crossing the line and starting his Fuji campaign very strongly. And then Troy Stone Street across the line in P2, followed by Mark Poynton and Daniel Yeaman in your top four. Jason Bentz finishes in fifth and will assume pole position for the second race of the evening with the reverse top five. Stephen Varga, James Hardy and Abel Verban across the line. James Hardy taking that Trophy Cup victory. And Jamie McKnight and Dave Diddell, the last one. So look at how close it was there at the line. Who was that? It was side by side across the line. That was extremely close. We'll have to get try and get a replay of that if we can. That was Brad Hayes and Brett Horsell at the start-finish line. I'll see if I can quickly get a replay of that. Here we go. Get a replay, folks, very, very quickly. Side by side down the front straight. Look at this, Josh. It does not get any closer. This 0.01 of a second at the line.
Now, these battles are a lot of fun. Tracks like Fuji with long front straights, they really give you that opportunity to have these drag races, and what a fantastic way to end that race for those guys with a drag race like that to the end.
It absolutely was. That was spectacular. Let's have a look at our results now. Just remind you once again of what those results look like as we have a 5-minute warm-up. So Luke Allman, 2.5 seconds over Troy Stone Street, and then Mark Poynton actually closed within 7/10 at the end there to the podium. So has a lot of pace in that Frog-Lit Juice Racing Chevrolet Camaro, and looking forward to seeing what he can do in race number 2 later on. If he can pass Yeaman and Bentz off the line, he could have some pace to run away with this one. Stephen Varga finishing in 6th, and it's James Hardy, Abel Verban, Jamie McKnight, Dave Diddell rounding out your top 10. Brett Horsell and Brad Hayes, nothing separating the two of them at the line. There was absolutely nothing in it. Did not get much closer than that. Andrew Hoffman, Chad Weiger, and Rick Weiger rounding out your top 15. Ash Hall, Brian Borg fall back to 17th in the end. So a nice little comeback drive from Brian after a difficult start to that race in the wet. And Andrew Listener with that wonderful overtake around the outside of Troy Sipple. And then it was Sips and Scotty Perrins rounding out your top 20. You're looking a little further afield for the remainder of our results. It is Shane Patterson and then Ernie Toth, Craig Rose and Ray Smith getting caught up in those incidents, finishing a couple laps down. But wow, what a first race, Josh. There was plenty of action in there, and I think so far the wet conditions are proving to be fairly entertaining here at Fuji.
Yeah, absolutely. They say, if you want entertainment, just add water. The guys did a fantastic job. Fuji often, for all of its intricacies and challenges, it often brings some very, very good racing. And I'm just having a bit of a squeeze at the moment at the warm up, and the sun is definitely out. So there's still lots of water floating around, but it does appear like we might be getting a little bit of sun. And over 25 laps, we might just get a dry track, and that is going to really bring the challenge here, because that's going to start to chew tyres up, Isaac, and it's going to really start to bring some strategy in. When do you go to slicks and all of those sorts of fun things? So if you thought the race 1 was good, hang around, because race 2 is going to be even better.
Yeah, it absolutely is. While we have this driver's warm-up going on, we're going to take a quick break. Let's have a quick word from our sponsors. We'll be right back with you. Don't go anywhere. This is Alliance Sim Racing's Round 7 and our main sponsor, Solgard St. Gobain. Welcome back from that very short break from our major sponsor, Solgard St. Gobain. And it is round 7 of the Solgard Supercar Championship here at Alliance Sim Racing. We are at Fuji, and after a very, very wet race 1, we're looking at maybe some drying conditions for race 2. I can confirm, folks, that a couple of drivers have braved the dry tyre out there for a short run, but it doesn't seem to be lasting very long. They have jumped back and got on wet tyres in the pit, so maybe not dry enough just yet to throw on a wet tyre. Josh, we're not too far away from getting the grid for race number 2, obviously the reverse top 5, but how would you approach this race heading into a race where you know it's going to start to dry up? What would your strategy be with these 2 compulsory pit stops?
Look, there's a lot going on here. I haven't done enough work to fully understand the fuel and whatnot, but really what I'd be doing is probably taking the early safety car if there is one, but ultimately I'd be looking probably to get one stop out of the way fairly early, and then just absolutely abuse those wet tyres for as long as I possibly can, and let it dry up later on in the race, and making sure I'm jumping onto slicks I think the last thing that you want to do is get caught out towards the end of the race, having to take the second stop, really late in the race.
Yeah, absolutely. You do not want to get caught out late on, especially if it starts to dry up very quickly. Let's have a quick look at our grid. Reminder of how they start. They'll start as they finish besides the top 5. So it is Jason Bentz and Daniel Yeaman that'll share the front row of the grid for this one. And then Mark Poynton and Troy Stonestreet on row number 2. Luke Allman, our race 1 winner, and Stephen Varga on row number 3. James Hardy, Abel Verban, and Jamie McKnight and Dave Diddell rounding out our top 10 for the grid in race number 2. Then it's Brett Horsell and Brad Hayes after their very close finish in race 1. They'll start on the 6th row of the grid, followed by Andrew Hoffman and Chad Viger. I believe we do have lights, but I don't have any cars on the grid. We will try and get some cars on the grid. Well, here we go. The lights are out and we are away for race number 2. A very, very quick start. We did not get a lot of time at all there, folks, to have a look at what was going on the grid, but now a black flag for Ernie Tothan off the start. There goes Daniel Yeaman up the inside, so he's got a wonderful start. And look out for Mark Poynton. Here he is, up into second off the start. We said if he could nail it, that he had a lot of pace in these conditions. He absolutely is nailing it so far, past Jason Bentz, who drops from pole to third. Daniel Yeaman launched the car very well off the front row to get up into position number 1, and Mark Poynton has nailed that start to move up into position number 2. Troy Stonestreet is 4th, followed by Luke Allman. And then Stephen Varga, James Hardy, Abel Verban, Dave Diddell and Brad Hayes, your top 10. Brian Borks up 6 spots off the start. After that, I make that 7 spots off the start. He started 17th, and he is in 11th place at the moment, battling with Brad Hayes just down the order. We'll have a quick look at that as they're going for it at the front as well. So Mark Poynton actually is going for a move on Yeaman, who gets a little bit sideways. This has been his Achilles heel, that very, very fast left-handed down the bottom of the circuit. And again, Mark Poynton trying to capitalise. They go side by side through the final section. And again, loose there from Yeaman. He got caught out on cold tyres, and up the inside goes Mark Poynton to the lead of this race. Look out for Jason Bentz trying to invite himself to this party as well in the background. It's Stonestreet, Allman and Varga going for it. And past Daniel Yeaman goes Jason Bentz up into position number 2. Yeaman isn't quite done with this yet. They're going to go side by side down the front straight. There'll be a little bit of side drive from the two of them as they run down what is a very long front straight. We spoke about this during the lap guide earlier, Josh. It is such a long straight, and these two, there is nothing separating them running towards turn 1.
No, absolutely. They've done a fantastic job there, and really putting on a nice display of racing early on. They continue to battle it out as they start their second lap. I wonder whether these boys are fully aware that it's a long race, but Yeaman does now pull in front, and they are back into single file. That's 1 of 25. There's still a long, long way to go yet.
There's still a very, very long way to go. We had a request in the chat to show the tyre types and get an understanding of where everyone's on. The only person that's on a dry tyre at the moment is Shane Patterson. Jamie McKnight, unfortunately, has dropped out of this race, potentially due to connection issues. So that is very unfortunate for Jamie, who was in a strong position inside that top 10. And everyone's switching to the wet tyres. So I believe Craig Rose, Shane Patterson potentially starting on the dry tyre, coming in and putting on a wet, because it's just still too wet out there for dry conditions. So it is, big slide for Bentz. They're all sliding through that fast left-hander, and that's going to cost him quite a lot of time. And now you can see in the background, Allman and Stonestreet still going at it as well in this little battle pack. And then Abel Verban and James Hardy. Oh, that's around. Who's that? That's around in the background. Is that Hardy? It is Hardy that got sideways and has lost a handful of positions. He could lose another one here to the Dell. They're all getting caught out in this back end of the lap. Josh House, I don't know what it is about this part of Fuji, but it seems to be catching them all out.
Yeah, I think it's just the most challenging bit, and as the track dries up, they're all trying to go faster and faster and faster. It's just it's just not working. They will they'll inevitably get there, but I think that there's just a few folks out on track at the moment that are slightly impatient.
Yes, a few guys impatient. Here we go up the inside. James Hardy and Dave Diddell side by side, and gets it very, very crossed up on the entry James Hardy, and they're still going to be side by side. Here comes Brian Borg to be a part of this as well. 3 wide for a moment there. And Brian Borg has snuck through on both of them, gained 2 spots out of that. They're still going here. Hardy and Liddell through the left-hander into the very, very long sweeping right-hander, and now Liddell could lose a spot to Chad Vigar. You can see here, Vigar getting the opportunity to capitalise, and they're still side by side as they come up towards the braking zone. And that is very, very close between all 3 of these drivers, and getting his ears boxed here is Dave Liddell. And it's all happening. I don't think they're, I think, look, we've spoken about this before, Josh. Race 1 for ASR is usually very tame. Everybody's well behaved and they all, you know, it's clean racing. It's, oh, here we go, around. Chad Vigar got it loose on the entry to the corner and then got a touch as a result. A bit of help from the car behind, which is Dave Liddell. And now has to sit there for a little bit, turns the car around, gets it rolling once again, but has lost ground. And that's what I was saying, Josh. It's all very tame. Everyone's well behaved in race 1, and then race 2, it's like the gloves are off and everybody's just getting into the side of everyone.
It's pretty typical. You know, that's just how things happen. I guess it's a long race, and you know these guys want to make sure that they're capitalising when the field is still together. We see now Brian Borg and Liddell straight into the pit lane early on, so they are certainly not going to be, you know, they're not going to be mucking around. Things have gone a bit wild though, as you said. Race 1's always tame. The boys have they've taken the gloves off though, haven't they? There's a bit of red mist out there, plenty of mist off the back of the cars, but some of it does appear to be in the helmets as well, and hopefully these guys do now start to settle down and get into that rhythm. Still over 20 laps to go. There's still a long way here.
Yeah, still a very long way to go, and this is the battle that we're keeping an eye on here. This is for the back end of the top 10, so Horsell trying to find a way past Hoffman in front, and then you've got Rick Vigar and Ash Hall for company in behind, but also don't count out the fact that Andrew Lister and Ray Smith are also right there. So a slowdown penalty at the front of the field for Mark Boyden, who leads this race over Yeaman and Benston, Stone Street and Allman. So it's pretty much business as usual at the front at the moment. Everyone's a bit line astern. It's this little mid-pack here where there's a massive battle. There's about 6 cars all in a row that are jostling for the back end of this top 10. They all want position. And interestingly enough, Borg and Liddell, who chose to come to the lane there, did not put on a set of dry tyres. So they've pitted, and it's obviously, as you can see, clearly still too wet out there for a set of dries just yet. So sticking with the wet tyre for now to serve that first pit stop.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the plan there is get your first CPS out of the way and done, and then run as long as you need to find that time where you can change over to the dry tyre. Still a huge amount of spray off these cars. Not even a question about whether it's time to go to the dry tyre yet. So I think that it's a sensible option to get your first CPS out of the way, fill the car to the brim with fuel, and then just go for as long as you need to on these wet tyres, and you've got yourself set up now. There's only one CPS to the end, so I think that puts them in a relatively good position. Yeah, it certainly does, and I think this is the strategy. We've seen Luke Allman and Brett Horsell come to the lane as well. Luke Allman, pit lane penalty for car 017, incident with car 10 on lap 1. So that is Brian Ball with an incident with Brad Hayes. And we'll see if we can figure out exactly what that was. I don't have on my timing screen anywhere that there was contact or a crash between the two of them. But we will try and figure out exactly what that was at some point, because there seems to be a little bit of drama there between the two of them, and as a result it has landed a drive-through penalty for the 017 car of Brian Borg. You see that black flag there awarded by the stewards. He'll not be super stoked about that, but there's still plenty of racing. You prefer to get it on lap 6 than on on lap 21 or 22. So Brian's quick. He'll serve his penalty. He'll take his medicine, and he'll get his nose down, and he'll move back forward. But yeah, he's not going to be real stoked. But it'll at least it'll put him out in some clear air and give him the opportunity to just cut some laps all on his own. But we do now have a look at I believe that's Ray Smith getting the pass done on Listener. Although Listener now getting really good drive out of turn 1 and getting straight back past him.
Yes, he certainly is, and I think this may be the replay we are looking for, the Chubby Buns replay. This is Brian Borg passing Brad Hayes, and then being repassed, and yeah, you can see there just contact between the two of them sends Hayes wide and off the circuit, and that will be what that drive-through is for. So understandably, the stewards have looked at that and said that deserves a drive-through penalty.
Yeah, plenty of overlap. It's I doubt that Brian Borg is particularly stoked about that decision, but I don't know many drivers that are stoked about any decision when they're given a penalty, to be honest. I don't think that we necessarily see eye to eye with the stewards on many things when they go against us.
No, I don't think I've ever been, looked at a steward's. I think maybe once or twice in my life I've looked at a steward's report, and then when I've been penalised, I go, oh yeah, no, that's fair. And here we go, Brian Borg once again. Well, actually, that's for car 016. So that is, looking at my time, that's Chad Vigar for an incident with Brian Borg on lap 2. So a 5-second penalty awarded to Chad Vigar for that contact. Yes, I don't think I ever look at a steward's report and go, yes, I completely agree and understand. I think I look at them and mutter a few colourful words, and then just decide that I probably need to get on with my life and just accept that that's the result. But very well, and welcome to everybody that's watching in chat out there tonight. Luke Pound jumping in and saying, evening lads, mate, evening, hope you're well. We've got a couple other people out there as well. Tim Lawson, Rushy, Speedy McNugget as well. That's a very, very cool YouTube username. I haven't seen that one before, I don't think, but great to see you all out there and tuning in and watching along. We've really appreciate the support tonight. Obviously, no Jared this evening. Josh and I holding down the fort, and we have our thoughts with I've lost my train of thought here. My thoughts are with Jared, sorry. He's been a bit unwell. He's on the mend, which is a good sign. So hopefully we'll see him back in the booth next week. But he's handed us the keys this evening, and look, we're very grateful for the opportunity, but obviously hoping that he's up and at him, as we all know and love Jared. And he's a great character, and obviously love sharing the booth with him. But hopefully he's back on his feet soon and feeling back to his normal self. I think everyone that tuned in last week sort of could tell he wasn't feeling 100%, and then this week he's still not quite there, but it's good to hear that he's slowly on the mend, and hopefully be back in the booth next week.
Yeah, we do hope so. It's not that I don't like being here, but the world's a better place when Jared is up and about and feeling well. So we look forward to him being returned back to his usual very chipper self, and I'm hearing rumours that he might be back on the Simple Racing Network tomorrow night. So we do hope to see him there.
Yes, I have also heard that rumour. I've got obviously the MC Motorsports, the GT3 Championship tomorrow, and Josh, you might have the inside track on where you guys are racing tomorrow evening. We'll get to that a little bit later on once we get through this race. I'm sure we'll make sure we give a nice plug, because we have plenty of racing to keep you very well entertained here at Simple Racing Broadcast. So we'll give you more information on that later on. But right now we are on lap 8 of 25. So getting towards the halfway point of this race, about lap 13 will be the halfway point here, because lap 12 and a half, we can measure that, but on our lap counter we can't really measure that. So once we get to lap 13, that will be, we've crossed the halfway point of the race. A number of drivers are still yet to pit. You can see here on our screen, we'll get the data up for you as to who's performed the pit stop, and pretty much Luke Allman leads the charge of drivers who have stopped so far, all the way down to Chad Varga in 12th place have not stopped. So this man you're looking at on your screen and Daniel Yeaman in behind are yet to stop in this race. Jason Bentz and Troy Stonestreet in the background navigating their way through lap traffic are also yet to stop. And I think the lap traffic that Stonestreet and Jason Bentz have found themselves trying to find a way past here is probably exactly what Luke Allman is hoping for, because he's able to push in relatively clean air at the moment and get away with not being held up, whereas these guys are battling with, I believe it is Ernie Toth that is a lap down, and he was making it a little bit tricky to try and get past in that final sector. So this is good news for Luke Allman, who's trying to go for the undercut.
Yeah, absolutely it is, and just lap on time on track is always good for that undercut. It's a surprisingly successful strategy in a supercar, I must say. But yeah, look, if anyone's going to pull it off tonight, Luke Allman is he's a pretty quick man. He will be out there and doing his best to run everyone down. He's got a little bit of space to himself too at the moment. I'm just having a bit of a look there. He's he's about to come past someone in the pit lane. He's got he's got 27 seconds to the car in front, so he's wow. He's going to be thoroughly enjoying that. He can just get the nose down. You can just start to see a couple of evidence or spots of evidence of the track drying. So we're certainly not up to having a dry line yet, but we are now starting to see just a couple of spots where there's far less water. There's certainly not a great deal of standing water anywhere on the track, and I think that there's a number of people here who are positioning themselves, getting ready to very quickly have a crack at a dry tyre and make that last run home. Because we do see that would be Hoffman.
Andrew Hoffman, yeah.
That is not the one he would like to be facing.
No, he got very loose there, and that's again. I think if I had a dollar for every time someone unfortunately has done that this evening, I'd have quite a little collection of cash going on here, because that has been the common mistake for a number of drivers this evening. That corner, very high load. The car sort of, I don't know what you find, Josh, but I feel like the car sort of lightens up, especially in the wet through there. You lose a little bit of grip, and it's so easy to rotate the car. Much more so on cold tyres, as Hoffman now decides it is time to come into the lane to get off these very used wet tyres. But it seems so easy to do in these cars, especially in these mixed conditions, these wet conditions that the drivers are facing. It's a very treacherous part of the circuit.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm not sure why we're seeing so many people at that second last corner, but it is catching a lot of people out. There's no doubt about that. So we'll see whether things continue. But I'm also interested to see whether Hoffman goes to a dry tyre or stays on the wets. That's going to be interesting. He did seem to dive in pretty quickly after that mistake, and I can tell you he has gone to a dry.
Wow, there you go. Two cars on a dry.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can sort of see, if you look, folks, where Brian Borg is on, there's still a bit of spray being kicked up, but there is starting to be a bit of a lighter line forming on that side of the road. So there is a bit of a dry line starting to take shape, and as a result, I think drivers are starting to see the sense in moving to that drier compound tyre. Jason Bentz dives into the lane. So this is the first of the lead group to come in. And this will be telling here, Josh Harris, because Jason Bentz, what he does in terms of the tyre, I think is going to set the tone for what the rest of the front of the field will do. Because if he goes to a dry tyre here, I think we could start to see the rest of the front of the field move to that dry tyre as well.
Yeah, a lot of people run that. They run that feedback. They know what tyres their competitors are on, and if they start to see those lap times tumble, then I think that you will see an absolute flurry of activity. I just have a feeling that it might be a couple of laps too early. But having said that, there is lots and lots of people in the pit lane straight away. So let's see how they all start to go. And
you start on the lap.
does our timing board really start to light up? But my gut tells me that Hoffman might be a little bit too early.
Yeah, so he stayed on the wet. Hardy and Hall have actually gone to a dry tyre, but Jason Bence has elected to stay with the wet tyre. So that's an interesting thing to note, as the front two have closed right up. So Yeaman has actually found a little bit of pace in the last couple of laps, found his way to the back of Mark Point, and as a result is having a crack at the lead of this race. I'd imagine one of these drivers will blink soon to go for their first stop. And we'll keep an eye on Hardy, Hall, Hoffman and Vigar just for the lap times that they are doing. Chad Vigar, that is. There's 2 Vigars out there this evening, so we'll keep an eye on the dry tyre run, as you can see on your totem screen right now, as neither Poynton or Yeaman are interested in pitting at this stage. They are both continuing on. So is Troy Stonestreet. Stephen Varga looks like he's making a move to jump into the lane, and Rick Vigar will continue on. Actually, that's only Toff that's actually behind him on the road, so he's a lap down. Rick Vigar some 13 seconds behind at the moment. Slowdown penalty for Jason Bence, but he is pushing on those wet tyres. So stuck with the wets, obviously feels that it's too damp out there still to move to a dry tyre just yet. And having a look at the lap times from our dry tyre runners, it does not seem to be translating at this stage. They're doing 150s, so they are not, I don't think, extracting the pace. Chad Vigar on the last lap did a 150. Andrew Hoffman doing a 237. And then Ash Hall and James Hardy obviously just coming out of the pit, so their lap time was slower. But it just doesn't seem to be translating to the same time that a wet tyre is still doing at the moment.
Yeah, one of the things that can often trap people is that first grey line isn't fully dry. It's just it's difficult to explain, but I guess it's less wet than the rest of the track. So we get the shine come off the track, then we start to see some grey come out, and then soon you'll actually start to see an even lighter grey appear, and there'll be no spray coming out of the tyres at those points, and that's where we get that genuinely dry line come out, and that's when the speed really starts to come. But I think at the moment, there is maybe one or two really small spots starting to appear of genuine dry track, but most of it is that middle grey, and there's still a lot of spray. You'd want to be supremely confident in your car control to be on trials at the moment. I'll say that much. Yeah,
certainly would. And some of these drivers will be throwing everything they've got at keeping that car on track. Mark Point has dived to the lane, so the race leader has pulled the trigger and said enough is enough. Lap 13, the halfway point in this race, they have decided it is time to come in. What does he go for in terms of a set of tyres, though? That's the question we will be waiting to see the answer to. And where does he come out in relation to Jason Bence? Luke Orman's actually behind Stephen Varga after all those pit stops have played out. Where does Mark Poynton come out? Where is Jason Bence? Here is Jason Bence coming down the front straight. Mark Poynton is at the pit exit and back onto the circuit on a wet tyre. So he stayed on the wets, elected to continue on. Again, feels like the conditions maybe not quite where he'd want them to move to a crossover and onto a dry tyre at this stage. Maybe the second stop later on in this race, we could see a dry tyre come out to play. James Hardy on the previous lap doing a 228, so really struggling on these dry tyres, and they certainly do not seem like they were the call at this stage. So you've got to take a gamble. Sometimes, Josh, you have to do something different to try and give yourself track position, but on this occasion, very, very sideways there for Mark Poynton. Cold tyres, wet track, it is not a good combination, and he has got full sprint car action going here in the Gen 3 Camaro as he makes his way around the circuit, gets some temperature in. Daniel Yeaman pushing on, but yeah, I think you got to make a brave call. You've got to do something different, but unfortunately for the dry tyre runners, it's not paid off.
No, and that's I kind of predicted it, but we are basically at the midway point now. Where we're gonna see how everything goes. There's going to come a time. There's no doubt about that. It's just about when that time is, and hopefully the wets hold on for just long enough. It is now a rapidly drying track. We can see that. We're basically down to no spray. You're going to start.
Daniel Yeaman's gone for a dry.
There we go.
Daniel Yeaman has picked the dry tyre. So as you've said that, Josh, trying to cut you off, I'm just going to point out, as you've said that, he has decided enough is enough. And a dry tyre is what he's going to go for. And there is Mark Poynton. So he's actually going to come back out of the pits in front of Mark Poynton. But the question will remain, Josh, is it dry enough for this tyre to be effective over the wet tyre that Mark Poynton has behind?
It probably is now starting to get close. It's going to be really interesting to see. Yeaman is going to be hoping that he can get some temp into that. I think his real danger period is this first sort of 2 laps while he's getting his head around exactly how much grip he's got, etc. He'll be looking in the mirror. He knows that Poynton's just behind him, but it looks like most of these guys have still got a pit stop for everybody. You've got to remember, it is a 2 pit stop race. And so far, the only person to do 2 stops is Dave Diddell. So, you know, there's still time as long as Poynton can stay somewhere near Yeaman. Then I think that. Oh, as I say that, I've put the commentator's curse on him. He has lost it at that second last corner. But as long as Poynton can stay somewhere near him, you know, then we still have one. We've all got 1 stop to go.
Yeah, and that's exactly it, isn't it? It's still 1 stop. It's a relatively even playing field still. With this, we're still on the crossover bubble. I can confirm James Hardy on his dries just at his fastest lap of the race. With a 46.5. Not as fast as the fastest lap of the race, which is a 45.7 from Mark Poynton, but still, if drivers are starting to do their personal bests on a dry set of tyres, you have to think that the conditions, at least on that dry line, are starting to come in favour on the racing line of a dry tyre. So what happens here? Troy Stonestreet's also gone for a dry. So the story is starting to be told. Jason Bentz has dove in for his second pit stop of the race, and that will be, I'd imagine, for a dry tyre as well. So we've got just over 10 laps to go, 11 with 10 at the line, so 10 and a half from here really, and Yeaman is starting to pull away from Poynton. So these dry tyres starting to find their mojo now. The temperature is coming up. As long as he can keep it on that tram line and not stray too far off the racing line, he will be in a relatively good position. He's avoiding the curbs here. The curbs will be like ice for a dry tyre, but he is just driving on rails at the moment, and you have to in these conditions because everywhere else off the track is so slippery.
Yeah, and that is the challenge of being the first. You know, even when it's fast, it's good and well to be on dries, but you end up with 1 line and 1 line only. And if you make a mistake, or if you've got to pass someone or anything, then you end up in a world of hurt. But at the moment, it is looking quicker.
Oh.
There's no doubt about that. A lot of smoke there. Someone's had a bit of a moment.
It certainly looks like it. We'll see if we can get to the bottom of that.
Just having a bit of a look at our mate. Oh, Yeaman's all the way up to first, and he has just set the fastest lap of the race. So
there you go.
So the dries are definitely the quicker tyre. It's probably still a little scary out there, but I think that you're about to see an absolute flood of pit stops.
Yes, we are. I don't think we're too far away from seeing all these wet runners come in and put on a set of dries. Remember, if you are Daniel Yeaman, you still have to come in for another pit stop. So you're on the dries at the moment, but as soon as Mark Poynton blinks, you have to think about blinking sometime soon around him. Otherwise, there will be the pace that he'll have on a dry tyre. We know he's been quick around here all evening. James Hardy in the lane. Troy Sipple now in the lane as well. Hoffman, Perrins, Listener and Hall are having a nice little battle down the back end of the field here, and this is some damage on that car actually for Andrew Listener, so he's going to dive into the lane. Maybe an incident potentially between the two of them. Nothing coming up on my screen here, unless I've missed it. We'll see if we can get to the bottom of exactly what's happened here. And yeah, I don't have anything listed on my events. But yeah, it's look, that's SCK for you, isn't it? But battles happening up and down this circuit right now. Number of cars in lane, as you predicted. We have a flurry of cars. There's about 7 or 8 cars currently serving a pit stop going to that dry tyre. And it will just remain some of these drivers at the front of the field. And this is Mark Poynton. Is he going to dive in here? I think he actually is. I think he's elected this is time to get off the wet tyre, and it is. So he's in the lane. Well, his second and final stop will Varga and Allman. Allman's still out there. So Allman was one of the first cars to stop, Josh, and he's now diving in for a dry tyre as well.
Yeah, it's time to go. We've got 8 laps to go. It's going to be interesting. Yeaman has the advantage that his tyres are already warm, so he's putting in good lap times. These other guys have got to get their tyres up to temp, etc. Yeaman has that opportunity to run. As we do now have a look at the Chubby Buns replay, we have a look here at Lisner, who we saw come into the pits just before with a heap of damage. That's an unfortunate incident. He has come out of the final turn and just got onto the wet AstroTurf and it's just hooked him straight up into the fence, unfortunately. We do jump back now and we look at Luke Allman coming out of the pits. Mark Poynton is still in behind him in the pits. Brian Borg's still in the pits.
Yeah, Mark Poynton sat there for a long time. That is a long time stationary for Mark. He's been there for 44 seconds. I wonder if that's a penalty. I wonder if he's sped on entry and has been held for a penalty.
That's exactly what that is. That is an entry penalty, unfortunately, for
gutting.
Mark Poynton.
That is absolutely gutting. That is heartbreaking stuff for Mark Poynton. He had so much pace this evening. He'll join the circuit in 11th, but 24 seconds behind Chad Vigar in front. And if we have a look at the pit stops and what everyone else has left to do, Chad Vigar does have to make a stop at some point, but only Ash Hall, and there's not a lot of cars in front of him that still have to stop. So for Mark Poynton, he's looking really at the back end of the top 10 at this stage with the position that he's in. So that is very unfortunate. And to rub insult to injury, he's got a slowdown penalty for running off track as well.
And that's bound to happen as people go to these dry tyres. I think we're going to see it more. I'm really interested though to see how Yeaman goes out in front. He's still got a nice gap. He is, I don't have an exact gap through to Allman, 58 seconds. He's doing a really good job building himself a lead. I think.
He certainly is, and Luke Allman side by side with, this is Ash Hall down the front straight. Allman will want to make quick work of this. But Ash Hall is defending. He deeper on the brakes into one. He will get the car pulled up and holds on to position for now. So Ash Hall under brakes into turn 1, just being on the drier line, I think certainly helped him in that situation. Luke Allman was forced to be on the inside where the track is still more damp, and I think he would like to try and get that car stopped in the fashion, and he has to be careful here. He doesn't want to get caught out too wide in the understeer. The dirty air of the car behind. He is pushing the wheels off this thing to try and find a way past Ash Hall right now. And this is the hard part, balancing an overtake with getting off the dry line, and this is where you need to look for the opportunities. Here he goes around the outside of Ash Hall. He didn't get the drive off the corner he would like, and now gets that position done up into P7, and he is one of the lead cars here that hasn't stopped. I actually think in front of him, Stephen Varga is the only other car that has stopped in twice in this race, and he is about 5 seconds up the road. So Stephen Varga actually also in a very, very strong position for a good result here once the cars in front sort themselves out. Abel Verban has now dived into the lane, the last car on a set of wet tyres, so he will serve his second and final stop of the evening. We have 6 laps to go, Josh Harris, and it is getting very, very close at the front here. Stephen Varga and Luke Allman pushing on. Where will they come out in once these pit stops play out?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm just watching lap times, and let me just tell you, Stephen Varga has just set the fastest lap of the night. This track is getting faster and faster and faster. These guys are in the vicinity of 5 to 6 seconds a lap faster than they were in the rain earlier on. We do see Stephen Varga is, as you said, the leading car with 2 stops completed. He's got 5 seconds on Allman, and you know, he's sort of in that vicinity of 53 seconds from Daniel Yeaman. I'm really interested to see can he get this done? As he got the pace, although, as I say that, Mark Poynton has gone and taken the fastest lap of the race. The leaderboard is lit up, just about everyone setting their fastest lap of the race. We are getting some speed out of this. It's going to be a fascinating battle for the last 5 laps. As we see, Yeaman and Stone Street are in the pits.
In the lane.
They have decided to do their last 2 or their last stop each. As we see Brad Hayes with a big ding on that front left-hand corner. He unfortunately gets just a little bit of standing water left on the curb and finds himself adding some fancy licorice strips to the middle of the track. He won't be particularly stoked about that.
No, this is the tricky thing, isn't it? As Stephen Varga passed Rick Varga, but it's a tricky thing, as we said, the track is starting to dry, yes, but you can see there's really one significant dry line. The inside of the track's still very much wet, and what that does is means that as soon as you're slightly offline or you touch a curb or you find a little bit of standing water, it's really going to unsettle that car on these dry tyres. So they've got to be careful of that as we get to battles towards the end of this race. You can see Andrew Listner is closing in on Ash Hall here, and he's going to have to be mindful of that and making sure that you can see they're getting across these curbs in the final sector here. But this is where that standing water was. It was this corner just coming up, running a little bit too wide, that caught Brad Hayes out. And you can see, look at that standing water there on the other side of the curb that unsettled that car. Andrew Listner pushing to try and get past the car in front, which is Ash Hall. A slow down penalty. Mark Poynton again done the fast side of the race, goes fast again. That's off the road. Is that Brad Hayes? I believe it may be. Off the road, and no, it's not Brad Hayes. That is Brad Hayes there. It may be Ernie Toth. I'm just trying to work. It looks like one of the 266 cars. Potentially, I'm not actually sure who that is. That's it's off the road. We will get to the bottom of that, I'm sure. Maybe Chad Varga. Let's have a look.
Could have been Dell as well.
Play. There we go. Chad Varga registers a crash on the software, and that's because he's got on the curb, got on the standing water, and that's unsettled the car quite a lot, hasn't it? That's one very unsettled Angry Birds racing car, but it might actually be Dell. You could be correct. Oh, look, it is. That's massive damage on the front of that car.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure how it happened, but I did just see that he had a meatball. That looks like a blown engine to me too, with the amount of pretty average smoke coming out the front. So,
and look, thanks to the wonderful world of SDK, I actually don't have a replay for that, so we can't quite figure out what happened to our friend Dave Dell, unfortunately, but that is very disappointing. Sorry, Josh.
No, that's okay. I was just going to say, if he's used a quick repair earlier in the night, that would be him done. Judging by how long he's sitting there, I think that he's out of repairs, and that's his race over.
Yes, here we go. This could explain what's happened to Dave Dell. Let's have a look. Out of the final corner. Oh, finds a little bit of water again. We saw, was it? Massive hit. One of the, I believe it was maybe Andrew Listner earlier that did the same thing, found the water on the outside and spat him into the fence. And then has just sort of putted along in the car, and you can see there's a little bit of engine damage, smoke coming off the car already, and then just amplified as he continues to try and drive it back to pit. So massive damage on the front of that car. Just getting caught out with that standing water on the curbs.
Yeah, it's so easy to do. I can't really blame the guys. You know, I've commented a couple of times now on how hard these cars are to drive, and it certainly wouldn't be fair of me to suggest that they should be doing better. They've put on a wonderful display tonight of driving. We are looking at Hoffman, who's had a pretty challenging night. He seems to have had reasonable pace compared to those around him, but a couple of times now we've seen him pointing the other way or being involved in things. So a bit of a shame for him, but sitting up in 8th, he's doing a good job.
He's in a very strong position. He's putting some pressure on Ray Smith, who's had his fair share of wars this evening. Gets a little bit wide there on the wet stuff, and he's got caught out. There's contact between the two of them. Ray Smith got caught out on the wet side of the track. The car was loose on the exit, and as a result, he got it crossed up and into the rear quarter panel of Hoffman, who spins the car around and will get it rolling again. But that was, and he's just, because he's on the wet side of the road, the tyres are damp. There is not a lot of grip at the moment, and his tyres will be very cold. They'll have dropped in temperature quite quickly, and that contact unfortunately puts Andrew Hoffman right back down to 13th. He was in a very strong position there, battling with Ray Smith. We now have a look at this battle. So Ray Smith, as a result, is in a little bit of battle with Rick Varga and Brett Horsell from that contact. But yeah, you just saw there, Ray Smith got caught out on the wet line on the outside of the corner, and on the exit, the car had a little bit of a snap of oversteer, got loose, and he tried to correct it, but as a result, went into the left rear, or the right rear, I should say, of Andrew Hoffman and spat him off the road, which is super unfortunate. I'm sure the stewards will have a look at it, but again, this is the nature of racing in the wet. You get caught in mixed conditions, I should say. You get caught out in the wet part of the circuit, and the car is a little bit of a handful to try and control.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm no malice in that, I'm sure, but it's a shame for Hoffman. But we move on. We've only got a couple of laps left now. We see Yeaman and Varga out the front. All of our pit stops are completed across the entire field, and Yeaman has a hell of a
very wide again from Smith.
He's having a bit of a battle tonight, isn't he?
He is, and it's that corner as well. It's caught him out a couple of times. We saw it on the previous lap, obviously, with Hoffman. He's done the exact same thing once again, just here. And it is, and off the road in the background, who's that that's just gone, spat themselves off the road? Jason Bentz that's got on the curb. I think it might be. It is Jason Bentz. So Jason Bentz also fighting that curb on the outside of the final corner and getting very much caught out. So we're on lap 23 now, so 2 laps to go at the line. Luke Allman within a second of Troy Stone Street. It's ebbing and flowing a little bit there between the two of them for that last spot on the podium, but he has some work to do if he wants to get up into the podium places. But this battle here, Josh, with only a couple of laps to go, we've got Rick Varga and Ray Smith and Brett Horsell. Brett Horsell is leading the Cup Trophy class. Look, he'll love the opportunity to gain some places here, but also with a 2-second lead over Abel Verban, he really doesn't want anything to bring his race undone here.
No, absolutely not. He will just be hoping to finish this out over the next, what have we got? Over the next lap and a few corners, and just going to be hoping that they can all point nose forward and get to the end. I notice that Hoffman's now got a meatball as well.
He does.
I wonder if that's that contact or whether there was something else that happened with Hoffman. But anyway, we are here. How good to see a close battle at the end of the race for our Trophy Cup guys. They are absolutely battling it out. I'm not sure that that Ray Smith's going to provide much in the way of holding up Horschel. So Abel Verban might not have the opportunity to get involved in that scrap on this last 2 laps, but it's nice to see them together, and good to see those guys up in the top 10. They've done a really good job.
Yeah, they absolutely have, and it's been the theme this season. Really, we've seen a number of those Trophy Cup drivers getting up into the top 10 and providing really good results, and it just speaks to the ability that they have and the strength of this field. There's been a number of drivers, we've said time and time again, way too fast to be classed as Trophy Cup drivers and should definitely be considered pros. And again, they're just proving that point with the results they're putting on this evening. We start the final lap of the race. Oh, Luke Orman! Luke Orman's hit the water, and there was a massive spray there. He's got the car back on the circuit, but there was a huge spray of water, and I thought he was gone for sure. I'm not sure. I'm not convinced he made contact with the wall there, but he went off track, and that was a very, very hairy moment that almost could have ended the race of Luke Orman. He's well and truly out of contention for that podium spot now, but he'll be very, very glad that he has stayed on the circuit in the dry. Brian Borg is closing up now to the back of Ash Hall, looking for a move here to try and get a spot. It won't be for the top 10. This will be for position number 11, but it would be a great comeback drive through the field for Brian Borg, who's had a very, very tough night. It's unlike him to have a night like this, and no doubt he will bounce back absolutely. He was disqualified last week from COTA for not serving both pit stops in 2 separate races. He served both pit stops in 1 race, which unfortunately did break the rule, so he was disqualified from race 3, lost all those points, and now has had a bit of a hard time of it tonight. Here he goes, the long way around on Ash Hall into turn number 1. Can he get it done under braking? Ash Hall is going to try and make a point of it. He's going to have to stick around the outside, holds him up to the high line as they go through turn number 1, and Ash Hall will come out on top for now, but we're not too far away from Daniel Yeaman coming towards the start-finish line to win race number 2 by a considerable margin, 11 seconds before we get to Stephen Varga, who is in position number 2. And here comes Vargs across the line. Some 11 seconds later, Troy Stonestreet in position number 3 from Luke Orman, from Mark Poynton, and Rick Varga, who is being chased to the line by Ray Smith. Here they are on your screen. So Mark Poynton hasn't quite made it to the finish line yet, but this is still going on here down the field. We'll get the gaps back up if we can try. Here we are, the gaps. That's the interval. That's what we want, to see just the intervals that are left here. And Ray Smith is throwing everything he can at Rick Vigar in front. Jason Bentz also trying to, here we go, Abel Verban on the final corner. It's going to be a drag race, and Abel Verban caught high. Abel Verban might be out of fuel here. Abel Verban is going slowly. He could be out of fuel, Josh.
Yeah, absolutely. You see that car jerking around. He's definitely out of fuel, and he has got a long, long way to go to get to the start-finish line here at Fuji. I will be very surprised if he can get himself there.
I recall, was it last week? I saw one Josh Harris ran out of fuel.
Yes, it was. I tried to be cheeky on the safety car, and I failed miserably.
Oh, is that someone behind him giving him a hit? Or is he found... He's trying to rev it up. Yeah, sorry, Josh, go on.
I was going to say, he's on the starter motor there trying to get it moving. How disappointing for Abel Verban. One thing that I'm interested to see, it looked to me like Stone Street crossed the line with a yellow flag. And I have a feeling that you might see him tumble down the order when the results do come through.
Well, we'll certainly keep an eye on that. Let's have a look at our race results. They are ready for us, so we'll get those up for you now and see just what those look like. And it is Daniel Yeaman that won by 11 seconds over Stephen Varga, and there are massive gaps between the drivers as a result of the changing conditions in this race and no safety car this evening, which is very surprising. I think I've seen a safety car pretty much every round so far this season. So Stephen Varga, Troy Stonestreet rounding out your podium. Then it's Luke Orman. That massive moment on the front straight on the penultimate lap. Mark Poynton in P5, a great comeback after that unfortunate penalty for overspeeding on the entry. Rick Vigar, Ray Smith, Brett Horsell, Jason Bentz and Brian Borg inside your top 10. And then Chad Vigar, Ash Hall down in 12th. Then Scotty Perrins, Andrew Listener, James Hardy in your top 15. Brad Hayes, Abel Verban, Shane Patterson, Troy Sipple and Ernie Toth rounding out that top 20. And then looking a little further afield, it is Craig Rose, and then Andrew Hoffman, Dave Dell finishing 7 laps down, and Jamie McKnight unfortunately disconnecting right at the start of the race, which is devastating indeed. Now, I believe we do have a few drivers to talk to, and we'll get in first, dragging in here our third place man and current championship leader, Troy Stonestreet. Troy, great to have you in the booth. Pleasure to chat to you once again. First of all, congratulations tonight. That was some pretty difficult racing out there, it seems, in these tricky conditions.
It was, yeah. I wouldn't say I was real good in the wet. I was happy to feel it dry out, but try to throw it away. I heard someone get fastest lap, and I don't know if they do bonus points for fastest lap in this league, but I thought I can probably get that, and I drove straight off the track. Cost myself a position, but anyway. Yeah, it was good. Good fun. A couple of them boys were quick in the wet, so I was just sort of hanging in there and hoping it would dry out, and it did. And yeah, sort of held my ground.
Yeah, well, talk to us about that drying out. We sort of had a feeling that it was going to dry out in race number 1, in race number 2. Just how quickly were you under the impression that it was going to dry? Did it sort of follow the timeline sort of expected, or did it take a bit longer, or did it dry out a bit quicker?
It was a bit longer than it showed in the forecast, but I was quite surprised that a fair few guys pitted early and kept wet tyres on, because you could definitely see and feel a dry line, getting created. And yeah, I seen Dan go in. I thought, one more lap and I reckon it'll be. But he was probably spot on with that one extra lap of dry tyres, and yeah, that was the difference, I think, between a lot of guys. I know Mark was super quick in the wet, but probably made a bit of a boo-boo by pitting and keeping on the wets. But yeah, it's always good fun racing like that when it's changing conditions and you've got to kind of pick the track and cross your fingers.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like a lot of fun out there. You're in a fairly strong position in the championship. Obviously, no Connor Nixon tonight, so there's a potential that the championship lead that you do have will grow. How are you feeling heading into the last 3 rounds of the season? We've got the Nürburgring Gromstrecke next week, and then a couple Aussie rounds, local rounds in Adelaide and Bathurst. What's your outlook? You're in a strong position. Are you focused on the championship, or are you just are you taking it one round at a time? What's the
definitely? Yeah, I was just kind of Nürburgring. That's a track that I don't really have the time and experience there to know well. So that's a bit of a lottery, but obviously the other 2 tracks pretty comfortable at. But in saying that, everyone's quick at them 2 tracks because they're Aussie tracks as well, and everyone knows them. So yeah, I guess I'm not sure with the Nürburgring. If I can get some more time, I'll try and do some practice. But yeah, just see how it goes, mate. You can't sort of get too far ahead of yourself. It's just the old cliche, one race at a time. Can end up can go south pretty quick if you get too far ahead of yourself.
Yeah, well, that's right, and it seems that you're very sort of focused on what's next and one thing at a time, and I think that's the makings of a very strong position in this championship. So looking forward to seeing what you get up to next week, mate, at the Nürburgring. Before we do let you go, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to or say thanks to?
I want to say thanks. I keep on meaning to say it to Jamie McKnight for his time and effort he puts into the setups. His setups always seem to be quite good to drive in the wet, but even I think this season his dry setups have been exceptionally good. I've been kind of just using them in any race I do. I used to sort of muck around trying to worry about different setups, but Jamie's setups at the moment are pretty spot on for all conditions, hot, cold, wet. So yeah, thanks to him. I don't know, he doesn't get as much credit as he should for the time and effort he puts into these for this. It's not an easy gig, and yeah, appreciate it. And obviously, yeah, thanks again to you guys and admin and all the other races. It's having fun, enjoying it.
Yeah, and that's what we love to hear, mate. Glad to hear enjoying it, having a bit of fun. Look, it's been an absolute pleasure to get to chat to you. I don't get the pleasure of doing these interviews too often, so it's been lovely to have a little bit of a chat. And look, mate, congratulations on tonight. Enjoy that one, and we'll see you out there at the Nürburgring next week.
Yeah, good on you, mate. Thank you.
Troy Stone Street there, P3 in race number 2. There, we'll bring in now the second place man in that race, and one of the fan favourites out there, I would say, from Quantum Racing. It is, of course, Stephen Varga. Welcome into the booth, mate. Congratulations, P2, in what looked like a fairly tricky race in race number 2.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, I was quite glad to come away with it. Didn't expect it. I thought my teammate was going to get me there, but he got unfortunately held up in the pit for something, stop and hold for something.
And it looks like there was a couple of stop and holds out there this evening. Mark Poynton also got one. Was it talk to us about those conditions? Obviously, some drivers elected to go with both stops, putting on the dry tyres. Some elected to go for the wets early on. What was your approach to this race coming into it? Did that differ too much from what you did in the end?
I was just waiting for the track to say it was dry, but 11 laps in, only had a few laps of fuel left. I thought I might as well quickly just get another set of wets on, go out and then get enough fuel so I can get to the dries, and yeah, that's what I did. 6 laps later I went in dries.
But it certainly worked for you. P2 have to be pretty happy with that. Obviously, how are you feeling heading into next week? We go to the Nürburgring. It's the Grams track. It's a very, very long track. And in these cars, certainly anything could happen. Is it a circuit you've done a lot of laps on? I think a number of drivers saying they haven't done too much, but in a supercar especially.
Yeah, no, I've done plenty. I used to do the VLN in the GD3 and used to do Nürburg in Forza Motorsport and stuff, so I know it pretty well. So fingers crossed it goes well.
Yeah, wonderful. We hopefully look to see you do well out there next week. How are you feeling about the rest of the season as well? I guess we've got 3 rounds to go. You're in a pretty good spot in the championship. Are you're looking forward to, obviously you said Nürburgring next week you know quite well, and then Adelaide and Bathurst. How are you feeling about those?
Yeah, probably not my best ones actually. So yeah, we'll just play it by ear. We'll just fingers crossed I can keep it off the walls and come home. I don't even look at the leaderboard because I don't really want to know what I'm in, so I just take it race by race and hopefully I do okay. Sometimes
ignorance is bliss, isn't it? Isn't that the saying? If you just you just don't pay attention, then it'll sort itself out. No, well, congratulations again, mate, on the P2. Before we do let you go, anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Quantum Tint Solutions, Nicol Photography, West Oz Roof Restoration, I think it's called. Yeah, that's about it.
Wonderful. Well, great to chat to you again, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure, and congratulations. Enjoy the P2 tonight, and we'll see you next week for the Nürburgring.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Stephen Varga there, P2 in race number 2, and now we bring in our race 2 winner in a very, very tough race. It is Daniel the Dave Meister Yeaman. And Dan, welcome in, mate. It is a pleasure to have you in the booth. Congratulations on that victory. It was a very, very tough race. You went for the alternate strategy, staying out. I wouldn't say the alternate strategy, but differing to what most people seem to do, staying out long enough to go onto the dry tyres for the first stop. Was that always the plan, just to wait until the circuit dried up?
Yeah, at the end of the day, Isaac, once the rain disappeared and we had no rain at all through the warm-up and into the start of that race, decided, take the chance on seeing if the track would dry out by the end of our starting fuel. And thankfully it got there at about lap 11 or 12, and then just given that Mark and I at that point in time we're in a commanding position track-wise, I just said, right, let's just keep going a little longer, see what happens. And yeah, just as the dry line sort of actually visually became apparent around the rest of the course, and able to make that gambit, and yeah, just take it easy for a couple of laps, and that worked out to be exactly what we needed here tonight. Yeah, well, talk to us about both those races. Race number 1, you had a nice battle with Mark Poynton for the back end of the podium, and unfortunately that went in the way of Poynton in race 1. And then race 2, you got your own back. You guys were fairly close once again for the majority of that first stint
in race 2 and then the undercut in the pits. How are you fighting those battles out there with him, especially in those changing conditions? Were you having fun?
Yeah, it was good stuff all night with Mark. A shame that from what my data said, he chose to stay with the wet tyres at his first stop in race 2, which meant that once I made sure to hit the marks and just bring my tyres in after those first couple of laps, he had nothing for me if I was staying in the dry part of the track, and especially down to the start finish stretch, because the rolling resistance of the wets costs you a couple of k's an hour in speed. So I could literally just see myself walking away down the straights. So a bit of a shame that strategy sort of prevented the battle from going on, because if he'd undercut me and managed to get temp in a set of slicks, it might have been a bit exciting there out of the pits on going on track. But yeah, rewinding to race 1, he did a great job, and I just kept making a meal of turn 10. Couldn't hit the mark that I needed to consistently. So we had a couple of laps where we got a blinder through there, and other laps where I'm throwing haymakers and sliders on myself. So yeah, it was a well-deserved podium for Mark to be able to get past me, and then also go and slap down the fastest lap and nearly catch Troy, I think it was, right at the end of race 1 too. So definitely was holding him up pace-wise, but credit to him, it was a good scrap, and yeah, he got what he deserved in terms of the better position in race 1.
Yeah, and look, he certainly looked very quick out there this evening, but as did yourself. You really ran away with it after those that first. Once you put the dry tyres on, there's really no catching you. So, look, congratulations, mate. It's a wonderful result. We've got the Nürburgring next week, 3 rounds to go. So the Nürburgring Grammstrecke and then Adelaide and Bathurst. How are you feeling about next week? Have you done many laps of the Nürburgring in the supercar?
No, that's one of the combinations that hasn't really ever made an appearance in my racing history. I've tried plenty of other cars around there that perhaps are a bit more conventionally suited to the ring. But yeah, hoping I'll be able to get back out on track next week. Yeah, the biggest downside to my life at the moment is I have work a shift roster, and so things aren't always set in stone that I can be racing on nights of the week. So far, it's worked out pretty well for ASR. We'll be able to, once I got accepted in, pretty much race every time I wanted to. So yeah, hopefully, maybe there's some transferable skill work that we can bring from the track to the car, and vice versa with what I'm picking up with the car at these other circuits we've raced at so far this season. But gonna have to leave a big fat question mark on it too, and not really be able to offer any early odds for those who might have that kind of thought process going.
Yeah, certainly we'll hold on the betting odds for now. We'll get those ones out next week. But no, congratulations, mate. It's very, very well deserved, and hopefully we'll see you back out there next week. But if work does get in the way, I'm sure we'll see you before the season's out. So congratulations. Before we let you go, is there anyone you wanted to say thanks to? Anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, of course. To the rest of the boys back at the team at Logitech Geo DBM, big shout out to all of them. Unfortunately, a bit of a solo drive tonight with Connor Nixon deciding to entertain some NASCAR racing that he likes to do every now and again as well. And Brad Ratzer getting ready for the V8 Pro Series tomorrow night when that goes to race at Spa. So that sort of pulled him away from getting some extra time here and racing again this week. But yeah, to those guys as well as the whole squad. Big thanks to all of them for being part of the team and making it what it is on and off the track. And to our team partners, Logitech G, iLiveries and Revolution Race Gear as our primary supporters for 2026. Big thanks to all of them for the continued support. And then to the rest of the team partners of Encosi Engineering Solutions, Hybrid Racing Simulations, Sam Blackrock Media, and a shout out to the Fight Colorectal Cancer campaign stateside as well. And yeah, here's to next week, fingers crossed. And thanks to you boys. Look forward to watching it back after all this. And yeah, final shout out to the team at ASR for the series and the invitation to keep racing with them here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Daniel, for your time. We appreciate it. And yeah, hopefully we'll get to chat to you again very, very soon. But congratulations once again.
Cheers, Isaac. Thank you.
That is Daniel Yeaman there, and a wonderful result for him this evening, Josh. The general consensus seems to be it was very, very tricky conditions, especially in that second race, but a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's always fun racing in the wet when your car stays pointing forward. So I'm sure that for the 3 guys up the front that they said they had a lot of fun, that there's a few people down the back that maybe didn't enjoy it as much. But we now cast our attention to the Nord. what a fantastic place to go racing. For those of you who haven't seen supercars at the Nürburgring, I would suggest go back through the archives, find the last time that ASR was there, and watch out for the world's biggest crash. It was absolutely spectacular. I think the entire field was involved in it. But
Brilliant.
what a cool track, right? Like Nord is such a fun track. We've just had the 24 there. It's one of the most famous tracks in the world. It's so difficult. 180 corners, Jared. Like, the thing just goes on legitimately forever. And these cars, these Gen 3 supercars, are surprisingly good around there. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it certainly is. And next Tuesday is going to be, look, it's going to be some action, that is for sure. If you'll say we've had some major accidents there before, I'm very much looking forward to what happens when we unleash at least 20 plus supercars there next Tuesday. But if you're looking for your racing fix a little bit sooner than that, do not fear. We have you sorted here at Super Racing Broadcast. Tomorrow night is the continuation of the MC Motorsport GT3 Championship. And Josh, I believe you are a regular contender in that championship, so maybe you could tell the viewers just what to expect tomorrow evening.
Yeah, we are off in GT3s to Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, Canada. It's a super fun track. It's very challenging. Lots of all the good stuff, like walls everywhere and chicanes and passing opportunities. If it's anything like the last couple of weeks gone by, we're going to have 40-odd cars on the grid, which is just absolute chaos of the very best kind. As usual, brought to you by the team here at Super Racing Broadcasts. Hopefully the dulcet tones of Jared Cole are back on the airwaves tomorrow. But yes, it'll be a lot of fun. It's always a good place to be. And it should be a real, a nice way just to hold yourself through to next Tuesday night when the supercars are back.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I'm looking forward to sitting down and tuning into that one. But for now, that will do it here from all of us at Super Racing Broadcasts. It was round 7 of the Solar Guard Saint-Gobain Alliance Sim Racing V8 Supercar Championship. It's been an absolute pleasure to have your company on behalf of Jared Cole, Josh Harris, and myself, Isaac Fogarty. It's been a pleasure to have your company. We look forward to seeing you again next week when these supercars take on the Nordschleife. But until then, stay safe and look after one another. We'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.